There comes a moment in life when you have to decide, are you playing it safe or are you all in? This is All In Empowerment, the podcast where we crush fears and step boldly into the life you were meant to live. I'm your host, Betsy Martell, coach and adventurer, here to push you past your limits and unlock your full potential. It's time to level up your life because empowerment isn't just a mindset, it's a commitment. So are you ready? Because in this space, we don't tiptoe, we go all in. All right. Well, welcome to All In Empowerment. And today I have with me Carl Weinkauf. He is a friend from childhood. He's known me, well, not since diapers, but you've known me since I was like, pigtails and yeah.
A mighty long time.
Yes, a long time. We won't say how many years because I can't even calculate. But yeah, so you are an attorney.
By education, yes.
By education, yes. And you grew up in Wisconsin with me. And so in the summers, we would go to Green Lake to our summer home where we'd hang out. And you lived kind of kitty corner across the street from us. And you grew up in a small town.
Very small.
Very small. And then you went to, what would you say it was? Like a college prep private school?
Went to beautiful Wayland Academy in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, home of 16,000 busy beavers, as the Chamber of Commerce likes to say.
God, there's so many beaver jokes in there. And so when was it okay, so fast forward, you go to Dallas, right? Whatever. But anyway, I just wanted to real quick before we get started, and we'll get back to it later, is you have an Instagram called Wine Populist.
It's called @wine.populist.
Okay. And so hence the wine today.
Cheers.
And today we are I meant to research this because I like doing this with Kirkland Costco alcohol, okay? Because it's made by somebody. It's not made by Kirkland.
Absolutely. And the great thing to do is always look at the importer who's doing the Kirkland wine. Like this is their Malbec, which of course is from South America, but they have a Chateauneuf de Pape that's under $20. That's outstanding. I mean, it's very, very good, and that's usually a very expensive wine.
Yeah. No, it's the same with. There was a bourbon that they get. I can't remember where that came from. 1792. It was like a year, I think it's called. That's really good. I just got a tequila last week. And it's an añejo, but it looks like Blanco. And it's so smooth. It's called Cristalano. It's Kirkland brand. I think Cristalano, if I'm saying that correctly. And again, not very expensive. And you could sip it. And I'm not like, when somebody told me I could sip tequila, I was like, are you kidding me? Every time I do tequila, I get the shivers, right? You're like, like every time you do a little sip of it. But this is truly, truly like really good sipping tequila.
It's interesting about tequila because tequila is a huge thing in Texas.
Yes.
And I think you really have to be careful now with tequilas because you have all these celebrity brands and they've got a lot of additives in them. I'm not going to mention any names, but I just love tequila. And there's also in Texas, in the Mexican culture, they have something called sangrita, which is not sangria. Sangrita is like it's almost like a Mexican Bloody Mary mix. It's got a lot of citrus in the tomato juice.
Okay.
And you're supposed to sip that with your tequila.
Oh.
And it's wonderful. It's really refreshing.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
I'll send you the recipe.
Okay, do that. And again, wine.populist, is it?
Wine.populist.
Yes, it's so anyway, go check it out because you'll get all sorts of great information like this. And I'm just going to do a shout out real quick since we're talking about Texas and tequila. I have a friend who has a restaurant in Austin, Texas called Nomade. So nomad with an E at the end. And he has all organic, no preservatives, tequila, all 100% agave. I mean, just absolutely to die for. And the food, it's all small plates. And it was funny because we had a Uber driver and he said, where are you going? And blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, well, what kind of restaurant is that? And I said, it's Mexican inspired. And he got angry with me. And he was like, well, is it Mexican or isn't it? And I'm like, well, no, it's not Mexican food or Tex-Mex like they know. You know what I'm saying? Like, as Americans, what we think is Mexican food a lot of times is not really Mexican food, right?
No,
it's kind of Americanized Mexican food.
It's really, for the most part, Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
And that's what you see course, in Texas is Tex-Mex, which is, I don't know, a lot cheesier and gooier. And
Right. Yeah. We put tons of cheese and sour cream and weird things on it.
especially from Wisconsin, it's a
No,
great transition. So.
exactly. It's like we import cheese over everything. It's amazing what they put cheese on here, and inside of. Yeah. Well, like yeah,
And
they
fry. And
yeah, it's all good. So anyway, so what we're here to talk about today, and we got off track, which is totally fine with me because we're going to talk a little bit more about the wine and what you're doing with that Instagram. But I wanted to talk about, because all in empowerment, we talk about pushing past fear, being empowered, things like that. And you are the dad of 3 girls.
proudly.
Yes. Which is not always the easiest job in the world.
I kind of feel like I was born to it now that I'm in reflection.
Okay.
And I now have 2 granddaughters. So I can't buy a Y chromosome. I've got a neutered male dog. That's as close as I get. So.
Yeah. So, okay. So tell me what it means to you for your daughters to be empowered and to be confident and to be self-sufficient, if you will.
Well, I have 3 daughters. I have my oldest daughter is 33 and my twins are 31. And they are all, they have chosen something that they're passionate about, and they all are excelling at it. And that, to me, is quite extraordinary. I don't know what the magic was. I certainly was probably more their mother than me, but it's just great to see that. But I do think the upbringing part is important. I didn't preach empowerment. I wasn't like, you are a super girl. You can do anything you want to do.
You weren't Helen Reddy?
No, I did not hear me roar. But no, I think it's just being encouraging to them, not trying to, we all have biases and we all have things that we love, and we'd love to have our kids pursue those things or those interests with us. Thank God none of them wanted to go to law school. My wife and I are both attorneys, and we were just so thankful nobody wanted to go to law school and chose that career path. But my oldest daughter is probably the greatest mother I've ever seen, and that she has some licensures to do stock trading and securities, and she is a great mom, and that is her chosen profession. And by golly, she's so good at it. It's humbling to me. Another daughter is in her residency being a OBGYN. And the third daughter works for McKinsey & Company, the big international consulting firm, and she's killing it. I mean, the great thing about COVID was we got to sit at home and hear her talking on the phone to people, and I'm like, you are a badass. I'm sorry. It's amazing. So they've all pursued very different paths, and looking at them now, they've all been really very successsul at it. And I don't know if I answered your question. I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to follow up. Don't worry, because I'm relentless that way. So tell me, because you're still close with them, yes?
Very, yeah.
Okay. So what is it that you think you did? What influence, what way of being do you think it was that really allowed them to not only excel, but also to have a relationship with you? Because, that's that father-daughter relationship traditionally, okay, let's go just back to mine, which as you know, I grew up in kind of a wonky family, but my dad basically was like, honey, you should be a secretary and find a husband, right? Mm-hmm. When I was about to go to grad school, that was his, message to me.
Bravo there. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Great idea. So what do you think, like, your way of being or how you interacted with them, or, what would you say you think you did along the way?
Definitely put them before my career. Sorry, I almost misspoke. Yep. That was a big thing. I mean, I don't think I missed a soccer game or a ballet recital or a softball game or a soccer game. I mean, a play. That showing up, I think, was incredibly important, to know that you cared about them and you were going to be there for them. I think giving them that sense of safety.
Yes.
And this is something, it was very interesting that my wife had her father, lovely, lovely man. I just truly admired my father-in-law, very gracious man, but he was very stiff guy, and he wasn't affectionate. And when we got married and we were about to have our first child, my wife said, "You've got to be, you've got to be affectionate with them, because if they don't get affection from you, they will go seeking male affection from someone or somewhere they shouldn't be."
That's so wise.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So that was really touched my heart, and well, you've known me a long, long time. That's the way I am anyway.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm a hugger, so what can I say?
Yeah.
But
Well, and here's the thing though, you can be super affectionate as a dad, but if you don't show up, it doesn't mean anything.
true. That's
If
very
you
true.
only show up when it's convenient for you or when you can look like the hero, they know that. They get it, you know? So you were there, and I know you wanted to be there, right?
Oh yes,
But we
very
all
much.
we all have to admit there were times when trying to fit it in was not convenient. It wasn't easy, and you had to rearrange some things, right? But the point is you really wanted to be there, so you made it happen,
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
I used to have people say to me, oh, I can't believe, on Mother's Day you have to go to your son's soccer tournament. Why would they have a soccer tournament on Mother's Day? Which totally does beg the question, why would they
Right.
do that? Okay. But I was like, no, I love being there for my son. Like I would never miss any of their games or, it used to kill me because, with 4 kids all being in activities,
Right.
there were times that I couldn't be in 2 places at once. And it's really hard. It's like, I want to watch them all play their sports. I want to, but I think they're, and it's not that mothers aren't guilty of this, but I think men get off the hook easier because they can say, well, I have a job, I have it. Don't you agree?
I would agree with that. I just think, I mean, I know men who have daughters that they're still, it's still so foreign to them. I mean, what do I do with this little thing? And
Right.
I can't braid hair. I don't know what a scrunchie is. I don't know what a kitten heel is. I do now.
What the heck is a kitten heel?
That's the little tiny heel in the shoe where it's not a high heel. It's a kitten heel. Little.
Oh,
Yeah.
see,
I
I'm
know
not-
what a mule is, and I don't mean the animal. I
The
mean
shoe?
The shoe.
Okay, that one I knew. Okay, I was gonna go drink, but I was like, like a vodka mule.
No, not Moscow. We're not,
yeah,
we're not
yeah.
going there.
Yeah, I mean, it is true because I have to say that even as a woman, like I wasn't a very girly girl growing up. I was a little bit more on the tomboyish side, right? And so when my girls came along, it was a little bit different for me. I had the 2 boys first, and that to me was easy. And the girls came along, and I was like, okay, I can do this girl thing, whatever. As they became teenagers, it drove me crazy. I used to say to them, like, stop sitting in the basement with your friends and talking about your feelings. My God, go out and do something, But yeah, and then it was funny because my one daughter, so the first 3 played sports. And so that was really easy for me. I grew up playing sports, right in my wheelhouse. What sport do you want to play? Let's go figure it out, My 4th didn't really take to sports. So then I literally would ask people, I'm like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
And they're like, did you try music? I'm like, we did. It didn't work. And then I put her in like an acting class. And then what else did we try? I can't remember, all sorts of different things. And I even tried different sports, right? Because I'm like, okay, I get that you don't like full contact soccer. Okay, let's play tennis. Nope. Yeah, I tried all of it. And it was very frustrating for me because when you don't know how to connect with a child, it's really, really frustrating. I mean, there was things that we did together, like baking and things like that. But
Sure.
I wanted her to be out doing something and being social and making friends, and that's the community you get from sports and things like that.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly, but the problem is not all kids. I mean, like my twins. One was a captain of the soccer team, and one was a beautiful ballerina. So here are these identical twins with these drastically different interests, and you just have to celebrate whatever they're into. I mean, they may be a great coder, or they may be a great graphic artist. I mean, I enjoyed art tremendously, but I didn't have a daughter that had that same appreciation. I was not. Look at me. I was. If I played basketball, there's not a lot of sunlight that ever hit the bottom of my shoes. So it was. You just sort of have to sample through that stuff until they find something they're passionate about, and it may be so foreign to you. I remember the daughter that's a doctor, trying to help her with her homework, and I was an English major, and I'm looking at this going
Chemistry going what?
the chemistry book going, oh, and yeah. I think we better get you a tutor, and we did, and so now she's a doctor. But I think that it's important to just cycle through those things, and they're kids; they don't, they're going to feel their way and find their way. But you can't try to. I see a lot of parents just try and force their kids into something that they have no interest, no passion, and your child's going to be passionate about something.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not looking at their phone all the time, but they're going to be passionate about something.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to be very patient about that. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my youngest, who wouldn't, wasn't interested in sports. I found that she would bring me. She was little, and she would, you can hear all the stuff printing out. Oh my God, I went through so many ink cartridges. That she would print out a book report. So say the book report was on a porcupine. So it was all the facts of a porcupine and pictures of porcupines, and that's where all the ink cartridges went to. And she would bring it to me, and she would show it to me, and it would be 3, 4, 5 pages, whatever it was, right? Because I think she was like maybe second or third grade at the time, and so I said to her, I said, so is everybody picking a different animal in your class to do a report on? And she goes, oh no, I just did this.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, that's what she loves to do. And it was funny because then when she was in high school looking, what am I going to do in college? I said to her, well, I see you as being a writer or a researcher of some sort, or, something like that. Right. And so she went to school, and in high school, she chose the health sciences portion of the school. What do you call that when you have
a magnet?
Yeah, kind of like
school.
that. Yeah. And so, anyway, so that's what she chose, and kind of stuck with that path, and said, I'm going to do, some kind of, she wanted to do pharmaceutical research, right? And so she was going to stick with that, and I think she was majoring in biochemistry or something like that at the time, and she found that wasn't for her, and she got out of it, and she went into something. And now she's in journalism, which I think is so funny, and she's actually considering law. Because again, she loved that research. She loves the writing, the research, the reading about everything, And so she's kind of found her way back to where she started when she was little. And it's so funny if you pay attention,
Very much so. Very much. I mean, I think that's really, really true. But, also I think it's important that you do find something that you have in common with them.
Yes.
And all my girls love music. They're not, one is a lovely pianist, but the others aren't musicians, but they love and appreciate music. And that was always, we had, dance parties, and just my wife and the girls, and just, the typical dance like no one's watching.
Right.
And that was always incredibly fun. And so I do think it's important to let your child find what their passion is, but at the same time, you do need to have some common ground with them, that there's something that you can both be passionate about. I saw a picture recently of a friend of mine. Her dad had passed away, and she posted this lovely picture of her dad. She and her dad fly fishing, and trying to connect with one of my daughters, I bought her a fly rod, and I bought myself a fly rod, and I said, let's learn how to do this together. We haven't made great strides, but we've got the gear, and we're ready to go. And I think, I don't know. I'm not sure she has the patience for fly fishing, but it's something we can do together.
Even the memories of learning it together, because I'm sure there's got to be some funny moments that'll come out of that, right? Yeah. I haven't even tried fly fishing yet, because I imagine myself getting completely tangled up in the line, and So I'm like, I'll just stick to casting and, reeling in.
Well, the first time we went, we're at Green Lake and we're casting, and the entire reel falls off her rod into the water. And thank goodness there was still some line left on the rod, and I had to unlock the whole reel, and then so
Yeah.
first attempt was not great,
There's
but funny and
right,
great
right.
story.
Right, and that's something you always connect on. Like, my son played volleyball and would travel around the United States playing volleyball, and people would say to me like, I can't believe you spend all that money and you spend all that time, and but it was the time that I got to travel with him alone, and the simple things like we have funny stories about going through the airport or being caught in traffic in LA, or you know what I'm saying, whatever it is, there's that experience that you have together, and it's nice to also be able to find time with just one child at a time instead of always, doing group activities, because you really get to know them. I think they appreciate that attention. But when you were talking before, you make, again, going back to even making the effort, right? Even if you choose wrong, it doesn't matter to them. You made the effort, right?
Sure.
And they know, wow, dad made an effort to try to do something with me, to connect with me, to spend time with me, to get to know me. And that's huge confidence booster for girls.
Well, when they were pretty little, I guess it used to be called Y Indian Princesses, YMC, and
Okay.
now they can't say that anymore, so it's Y Guides, I think it's called. But we were
I think we
so
should bring
into that.
Indians back.
I do too,
Okay.
and I
I
think
said
because
Indian style.
I mean, I've got a lot of cultural appropriation photos of me with full headdress and the buffalo horns and all that stuff.
I do have to say, just real quick on that subject, and I'm probably going to get a lot of people mad at me, but don't we choose mascots because we think of them as being strong and brave? And
Absolutely,
it's a compliment, right?
to name somebody, yeah,
And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's my only thought on it. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm confused by the whole thing, but that's okay.
No, I agree. But we were big into that. I was Chief Running Late was my name, and would go on these campouts, and I'd say, Margaret, braid their hair really tightly so it will last all weekend, because I don't know what to do if it comes out of the braid. And we had so much fun doing those campouts, and I will say what you were saying earlier about the one-on-one time, like your son in the volleyball tournaments. I had probably some of the deepest conversations that I had with my daughters were in high school when we're driving back from a soccer tournament or a tennis tournament, and you're in the car for a couple. Texas is big, so
Right.
you're driving back from Wichita Falls or Cedar Park, Texas, and you have a chance to have some really deep, meaningful conversations, and if you've spent the time to gain your child's trust, they ask you very, very interesting questions, and questions that they're so curious about.
Right. What would you say is the most difficult thing you had to answer that one of your girls asked you?
I don't think I can't point to anything that was really difficult for me to answer. Some of them were hard subjects, like, they're in high school, now it's boys.
Right.
And, one daughter, I said, she was interested in this boy, and we'll get into this topic, I'm sure. But I said, I just said to her, does he make you a better person? Does he cause you to be better? And she really took that to heart. Certainly kissed some frogs along the way, but I think that was a powerful conversation. And I don't know. It just seemed that you talk about life. There are certain songs we listen to that when they come on now, we still laugh and giggle about that song. Or when I was taking to college, they would say, play the song list that we had when we went to the tennis tournament. So it's really
Yeah.
very touching. Yeah.
Again, it's just time and making the effort. It's not It's not as complicated as people try to make it out to be.
I think that is, I don't know, was it Woody Allen or Groucho Marx or someone said that 90% of life is showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And we, our house that the girls were raised in, we had a back house, and the town we lived in didn't allow you to have renters. So we had youth pastors from our church living back there as the girls were growing up. And those guys, years later, would say to me, you were such a great mentor to us. And I said, I sat around a fire pit with you and drank beer and wine, and we told jokes and goofed on each other. How was I mentoring? Oh, you have no idea how that kind of just showing up and being there for someone, talking to them, spending that time. I mean, we can go into this a little bit later, but I think we have a tremendous, almost a problem with loneliness in this country, especially among youth.
Yeah.
And so that I think that showing up has become all that more important, an epidemic of loneliness.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's very sad because, we're not, you're younger than I certainly, but, we went out and there was much more, community and ran in packs and,
Right. Well, because you had to. You didn't
yeah.
have social media, you didn't have cell phones. And so you had to connect with people and sit down and talk or, even go and get in trouble together, whatever it was, but you were making that connection.
Oh yeah.
And I say that all the time. It's, if you make an effort to make a connection with somebody, it's amazing what can happen.
I heard a man I admire a lot. He was giving a talk and he said, everybody is looking for someone who's looking for them. And I thought that was really kind of powerful. If
Yeah.
you think about it, I think it's very true.
It is.
And we have so many. I've really tried to make an effort in the last year to have fewer superficial conversations. And I think part of it is having some questions that get you over that, BS first question, like, how are you?
Right.
Or
I'm good.
what do you do for a living? Boring. To questions like, well, what's exciting in your life? What's new in your life?
Right.
Is there something that you're really proud of that you're working on? Which immediately is so much more engaging.
Right.
And I just have tried to make an effort to not have those superficial conversations
Yeah.
that last 20 seconds.
Right. And it's funny when you do dig a little deeper, how people open up to you. Cause you think, I'm going to ask this and that person's going to be like, what's with you? And you'd be surprised at how many people open up to you and
Absolutely.
how deep they'll go, almost as if they've been waiting for it, for somebody to show interest other than how are you today? I've done this before. It's really interesting. When you say, maybe to the checkout clerk at the grocery store or whatever, and they're just like, and I'll say, how are you today? And they say, good. And I'm like, the way they say it, you're like, okay, that was just not a automatic response. I'm like, are you really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you really good today? And not facetious, but like really like heartfelt, and they're like, no, not really. I've had, whatever. They'll open up and they're like, thanks for asking. I've almost had every single person say thank you for asking because I was showing an interest and I talked to them for maybe 30 more seconds than normally would have happened. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's just that little bit, that could change their day.
Well, I think I agree with you completely. And I think asking those questions that you can almost see the excitement in their eyes that you've expressed an interest. And I'm not saying, Carl, pat myself on the back that I'm having all these marvelous conversations, but you talk to folks like that and it's remarkable, like the questions I was saying earlier, the eagerness that they want to share with you about certain things, or even maybe there's a sadness that they want to share. I've got a friend who's a pastor in Texas who's marvelous about, getting in Ubers and having these amazing conversations and, suddenly they're both weeping or they're both hysterically laughing and really it's something that I don't think it comes naturally because I think we all want to, boom, I'm moving on.
Hmm.
So as I say, I've been trying to train myself to be a little bit more intentional about having those conversations. And I think going back to the kids, you know, just saying, how was school today? Well, you're probably going to get a crappy answer.
Oh, if you had boys,
Yeah.
you're lucky if you got a grunt.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, boys don't give you information about what happened at school today. Yeah.
Sure. But if you say to your child, what was the most important thing you learned today in school? Or what really excited you about what in
Right.
this class or that class? It's remarkable how that changes the conversation.
A more open-ended question, because
Mhm.
even how was your day today is really a closed question. It's
Yeah.
really a yes or no. It's either good or bad, right?
Right.
Good, bad,
Exactly.
yes, no. I used to, when the boys were really little, I used to read them a story at night. And so I'd have them get in my bed, big king size bed. I'm like, all right, let's all, climb in bed and I'll read a story. And when I was done reading the book, I would just put the book down on my chest and just sit there in silence. And all of a sudden, they would start chatting.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. I think that would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, to just let them fill the silence with whatever they were going to fill it with, which was always my favorite time. It was always so much fun. And being goofy with your kids too. I don't know. That just came into my head, like I just remember, my kids would be like, Mom, use that voice that you use when you read that book, just show your goofy fun side.
I couldn't agree with that. I mean, I had a couple of personas that are sort of family lore. Um, I had I used to go and read at the girls when they were in elementary school. It's called Cactus Carl, and I had boots and spurs and cowboy hat and I would read stories to them. And I still have, I have a couple packets of thank you notes they wrote to me. These little first and
Oh,
second
they're so
graders,
cute. Yes.
adorable. And I just was so grateful that teacher allowed me to do that and do it for several years. And I still have parents come up to me and say, how's Cactus Carl? And that was 25 years ago.
Okay, so were your parents like this? Did you have grandparents? Like, where do you think your whole personality and being able to connect with your daughters, I mean, was that modeled to you, or was it something that you consciously, said, I'm going to do that? How would you say that came about?
That's interesting because I was just up visiting my mom in my little hometown, and we were talking a lot about that. She was recently at a high school classmate of mine funeral, and he and I had been close when we were younger and aren't close at all now. But he walked up to my mom and hugged her and he said, "You were the best mom in Green Lake." And so I think I had that model where, you love everybody. This, you don't know what's going on at this kid's house. So
I mean, she let you come to our house all the time, which was not a smart choice on her part. But
well, we all parental omissions. Yes. I've certainly been guilty of that.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. So, but I mean, we didn't have a lot of rules at our house. It was, one was we had to say good, when we came home, we had to say goodnight. And sometimes I remember falling into the bathroom counter, knocking over everything, coming home one night and missing the door frame but
To steady
yeah,
yourself.
we'll talk in the morning.
Yeah.
Was
Now
my
is not the
mother's
time.
response.
Yeah.
And my dad was very fun loving. And so he was kind of a goofball. Things about my dad that I've spent my whole life trying to avoid being like him. But really was a could be a goofball. Like we would be on a trip and he'd be jumping on the bed and acting like a monkey, and then the bed would break and we'd have to slink out in the morning. And, so just kind of things like that. So I think the kind of maybe the playful side, but the loving, I'm going to love everybody. I'm not going to judge people. I think that's definitely my mom in spades. And
Yeah.
she was a very, very warm and welcoming. And I know a lot of kids in town that they they feel that way about her. And from my sister's friends to my brother's friends to my friends, and it's interesting too because she said to me a couple years ago, I don't think I've really done anything. And I said, Mom, when people are coming up to you and saying you're the best mom in Green Lake in this whole town, I mean, who has that? Who has a reputation like that?
Right.
That's extraordinary.
And she was just being. That's why she doesn't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
She was just her way of being, and she didn't like try too hard to do anything. It's like they didn't read parenting books back then.
No.
There was no Dr. Spock or anything like that. You went with your gut and maybe what you learned from your parents. Now, what would you say though? Speaking of that, what would you say to people that are sitting here listening, going, "Well, yeah, I didn't have the greatest mom in my town, and my dad wasn't goofy and fun," and what would you say to those people that struggled with parental modeling, if you will, and what they're going to do? How are they going to now become good parents?
Well, I do think that there, and this is something that I think I've not taken enough advantage of in my life, and that is there is always someone who you look at and think she's the best mom in town.
Yep.
And maybe it's not your mom. Maybe you lost your mom. Maybe your folks are divorced. But there's always someone that you can admire and look up to, and no matter what it is, whether it's parenting or anything else in your life, it's not just, I think you look for that mentor to be your parent coach, just like you would, if you wanted to be a great golfer, you'd look for a golf coach.
Yeah.
And I do think those people are out there, and it's always amazing to me when you ask people for help. I think it's really kind of shocking to me always how much people do want to help you, how much people are just waiting there to help you.
Yeah.
And if you are vulnerable enough to say, I just don't get this, or I'm struggling with this, or I want to be better at this, even if you think you're okay at it, and I want to be better at this, and you seek that person out, you'd be amazed at the response and the.
Isn't it funny the stories we make up in our head that this person isn't going to want to help me because they're going to be too busy or, whatever. Okay.
Right.
And we make up these stories as to why we don't ask for help. Some of it is ego. I don't want to ask for help because then I look weak, whatever it is. But think about when somebody asks you for help, what a compliment it is to you. Wow, they came to me to ask me for help. And you're all willing to help them, right?
Absolutely.
But yet you don't see it the other way when it's time for you to ask help, you know?
That's very true.
It's so crazy how we do that, and how we make up these stories. And what's the worst thing that could happen? They could say no.
Right.
Why is it that we are so crushed by the word no? I mean, I almost feel like we should look at our toddlers and just say no even more than we have to, so that they just get immune to it, No, 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 no. No, I'm kidding. We should not do that. But we're kind of crushed by the word no.
I always, growing up, I said, oh, your personality, you'd be a great salesperson. Well, I went to law school because I didn't like the rejection of sales. I mean, I really didn't.
Yeah.
And so I do think that is a big issue. But I think if you get the courage to ask that first person, it's usually pretty surprising what the response is. And especially I'm on the board of a couple of nonprofits, and if you ask people for money, they'll give you advice. If you ask people for advice, they'll give you money. It's kind of an interesting, but the people that can give you advice strengthen your organization or strengthen you. I'm really, really surprised. I don't know if you read any Tim Ferriss's work, but
No,
he wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. And one of the things he talks about is he reached out to John Grisham, the author. And I mean, you and I sitting here, would you ever think John Grisham would respond?
No.
But he was persistent and got through the channels. And Grisham was very helpful to him and answered his questions. And, so I've got this much time. As long as you don't abuse their time, they're really, really very encouraging usually.
Right.
Because you're interested in something they're passionate about.
Right. So. And they love to share it. They love to talk about it. That's how I was just talking this morning with my sister about, how do young kids or anybody find what they're passionate in? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, think of something that you do and you could do it for hours happily and think that maybe only 5 minutes had passed, but you'd really been doing it for 2 hours. Okay. Yes. And something that when you talk about it, you completely change. Your face lights up, you sit taller, you talk louder, maybe even a frequency higher than normal, things like that. That's the stuff you're passionate in.
Sure.
It's not that hard to find.
Well, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
No, I in fact, it was funny. When I started the Wine Populist, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I am not in love with the law. I sort of went to law school and then figured out I was more entrepreneurial, mm-hmm. and but then I had the golden handcuffs on and a mortgage, and so. But I was having a drink with him, and he's older and kind of a mentor to me, and he said, "Carl, you got to pursue this wine thing because whenever you talk about it, you light up." And really, sort of doubling back on what we're talking about, one of the things that I was interested in wine, but I'm also interested in younger people. And see...
And not in a weird way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. You didn't know you had Carl Epstein on the show. No, but I'm interested in encouraging and helping young yes. people. And part of the Wine Populist is I'd done some research and realized that people under 40 consume the majority of the wine in the United States. Yet they're afraid of it. They don't know a lot about it. They're, going to a restaurant, look at a wine menu, and how is this?
I like the name of that one.
Yeah, and or the label's pretty.
Right.
And so I thought this would be a great way to not only pursue something I'm passionate about, wine, but create a community where other people could learn something about wine in a very unjudgmental, dunning, wine snobby,
Right. Well, and I think that's why people are afraid of it is because you do have those wine snobs out there that look down their nose, and I literally, this is the extent of my wine knowledge, which usually works out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If you know good regions for the varietal, okay, mm-hmm. so Malbec, Argentina, okay, Marlboro Valley is going to be a good Sauvignon Blanc. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you know just regions for the varietal, you can at least get part of the way there.
I agree. And what you're saying about the wine snobs is very funny because years and years ago, I was going to a wedding in Chicago, and the friend I was staying with, there was a wine store on the first floor of their building. And I walked in there having a wine tasting. My friend said, let's go down and taste some wine. And I taste this wine, and I'm just completely, blowing garbage. Going, oh, wow, this wine it's chewy but flowing, but it has that certain je ne sais quoi. And the wine store guy goes, that's it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, I'm totally blowing smoke up your skirt. And
oh, my gosh.
It was, I had to turn away because I was laughing. And anyway, so that's.
So, okay. So when wine snobs do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they watch like the legs come down, or what,
mm-hmm.
what do we call those?
Legs.
Okay. So anyway, we're in Australia, and Australians know a ton about wine. They drink wine all the time, mm-hmm. pretty much all day. And no, I'm just kidding, not all day. But anyway, so he was pretending because they were all talking, but they don't talk snobby, but they know their wines, and they're mm-hmm. talking about wines, and this guy knows nothing, right? So he thought he's like, yeah. And he looks at you, he goes, whoa, this wine has some good hang time.
I love it. And did they?
And they all laughed. Yeah. They laughed. They knew he was messing around. But yeah, I mean, if you make it fun, who cares if you call it legs or hang time or whatever? You know what
absolutely.
I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Just learn the basics, have fun with it. I like to do a little thing where if the label has the description, it's got, notes of black cherry and citrus and all that stuff, right? They don't read it
Right.
and
That's
try to
correct.
guess. Like everybody go around the table and they have to guess one of the flavors on there, or, and I think that's so much fun.
I would say to people who are interested in learning more about wine, there is a wonderful book called Wine Folly.
Wine Folly. Okay.
And it's written by a woman named Madeline Paquette, who is
Wait, what's her name?
Madeline
Oh, Madeline. Okay.
Paquette.
Paquette. Okay.
And she's a somm. And this book is, okay, here's how they make wine in a very, it's interesting about the way they make wine. And then the center part of the book is all these grape varietals and so you can kind of understand. And she says, well, if you drink a Malbec from France which is a big part of what might be in a Bordeaux blend,
Okay.
versus a Malbec like you'd have it labeled from South America, here's the difference in the taste you might get. And then at the end of it, she goes region by region and talks about the great wines from those regions. I think it's thick. It's not something you read cover to cover, but if if someone brings you an unusual wine, like a Greek wine that you've never had, well, you can look it up and say, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. That's cool.
And I know I'm not going to like it if it's this or that, and I know I like it if it's this or that. So
Right. Right. You could take the huge book with you to the restaurant and, be.
well,
no.
I usually I consult it a lot. It's a great bit of information. So
Yeah. No,
and
that's
very digestible. So you don't have to.
right. Right. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. It's easy to read and not
Very much so.
not like super complicated.
It's more of a reference book than a book that you would read.
Right. You're
all
not
the way
going to
through.
become a sommelier after you're done
No.
looking through it. Okay.
And do you want to?
No.
No, me neither.
Well, when I want to be snobby someday.
But
You
you
could
know,
be the fun sommelier though.
I could be, but there's a restaurant in Dallas. This guy, I'm
You
I'm
could
old
be
enough.
Cactus Carl the sommelier.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Hey, folks.
Howdy. There's a guy that is a sommelier at a restaurant in Dallas, and he is like, do you remember the old comedian Rip Torn?
Yeah, Rip Torn, right? Wasn't it?
Or was Rip Torn the actor? I can't remember. He's the guy that was very flamboyant, big handlebar mustache, threw confetti everywhere.
Yeah.
This sommelier is like that. I mean, he comes to your table and you're like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Right.
And really, it's a great sommelier. But yeah, I think being fun like that. But I think you should drink wine you like. And if you like sweeter wines, drink sweeter wines if you like them. That's not my palate. But don't be afraid to say, I like that. I don't like that.
That's why they make different wines.
Right.
So that everybody can find something that they like.
Well, and I really encourage people to, there's maybe 20 grapes that everybody drinks, 20 varietals, they say in the wine world, Malbec, Chardonnay, Cabernet. And I like kind of venturing out because a lot of those wines are less expensive and there really are some tremendous values and they're good. Like there's a Spanish white wine called Albarino, which has got a real minerality, almost a saltiness because the wine region's near the ocean.
Okay.
And that's just a great wine. It's, but that's not a grape that everybody really thinks about.
Right. So this one, speaking of price, I think was between $8 and $10.
Right.
For a bottle.
I don't think you can go wrong with the Kirkland in-house brands.
Yeah. And I would love to research this Malbec and see exactly what winery it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if you get on Google, you can figure it out. Like you said, if you figure out, your Mendoza, I think it says Mendoza, right? I think it's Mendoza, Argentina,
so.
this one. But yeah, okay, so let's go back to
Yes,
Carl.
we're getting a little.
Carl.
Yes.
Let's go back to you became an attorney. You're not in love with it. You're some years old right now.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, now on the last podcast, I asked the guy how old he was, only because he does Ironman competitions.
Wow.
And he's like, I can't believe he's like, I can't believe you just asked me how old it was. And I'm like, you should be proud of your age. He's 67. He started doing Ironman when he was 57.
Well, as I said to you the other day, I mean, that guy really stole my thunder because that's me all day long is the Ironman stuff. And I look so good in the Speedo too, the swim competition. In fact, I probably still have some shadow of the number on my arm from my last one.
Oh, yeah. Because you're out in the sun for so long. I mean,
Swimming every day like I do. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
No.
Okay, so you're something years old.
I'll tell you how old I am if
okay.
you want to know.
Yeah.
I just turned 66 last week.
Oh, fantastic.
I did.
Happy birthday. I missed your birthday. I should have. Okay.
You're lucky I'm here. So
you didn't miss your birthday, I take it?
No.
Celebrated it?
The fact that you didn't remember my birthday,
I see what you're saying.
So hurt.
Yes,
so hurt.
I know.
I've been moping for
Have you?
10 days now. So
I'm glad you got over it.
I am too. Well, you had to lure me with wine, so
because your mom taught you to love everyone no matter what.
No matter if they remember your birthday or not.
So this next chapter of your life, what do you want it to look like? I want to play the game. If you could just quit your job right now.
Thank you for not playing FU.
Oh, why? Is that a game?
No. No. If you, much more fun game.
I don't know. The other game sounded kind of funny. So if you were to quit your job right now, okay, what would you do?
If I were, would money not be an issue?
Correct.
I would start something that kind of merged Wine Populist with more live events where young people could come. I've been piddling around with this idea for, 6 or 7 years called Talks on Tap, where young people can come. When I say young people, I mean, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever. I can't tell the difference,
I don't
quite
even
frankly.
know what they are anymore, but yeah.
And I would have them come and hear an interesting short talk and then build community around that. And hopefully it would become popular enough where I could take that to other cities, where this became a safe place to have conversations, to meet people your own age, to talk about things without feeling self-conscious or feel like there was going to be retribution. Like that's a stupid question.
Right.
And because I do think, particularly, I don't think people our age realize some of the stuff that's going on social media. And I'm sorry, we could not have shared a glass of wine or a bottle of wine over our phones.
No.
You have to be together. You have to be face to face. And I worry that we're just, some of the humanity, we're losing our humanity in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And there are so many things that just crush and crumble, people's souls out there.
We make it easier to hate people.
Yeah.
Because when you can social distance yourself, you can stand on your high horse because you didn't get to know that person, right? You just get to judge them on whatever their political view is or whatever it is, right? And you're allowed to just judge them because they're not with you. Do you know how hard that is to do when you're actually face to face getting to know somebody and really realizing that they share a lot of the same experiences, a lot of the same fears that you do.
Absolutely.
And you can connect on that. And then all of a sudden, it's a little hard to hate you now, right?
Very much so. Very much so. And I do think that those opportunities, we had a lot more of those opportunities to be in face-to-face situations. I don't think those exist as much anymore. And I would love to see something happen along those lines where there was a place where people could come and get to know other people, no phones, just to exchange numbers.
So do you like see like a certain avatar, if you will, a certain profile of a person, or is it just anyone? Like, do you really want to reach out to say like young men or, young professionals, or is there anything that you have in your mind that you think that you would really like, one population that you'd really like to reach out to?
I think it's more the age group
Okay.
than the gender.
Than the gender or background or anything like that?
Right.
Okay.
Although I will say, you know, whenever you complain about something, you just volunteered. Have you had that experience in your life?
Yes.
And I was on the board of a organization in Dallas that it's a philanthropic organization, but part of what they do is they have. It's not. What do I want to say? It's not. They have duchesses and escorts, but it's not a coming out party. It's not a debutante party. They raise money for the school district that my kids went to, and they've raised a lot of money over the years. And I was on the board, and my daughters go through this, and I had one of my daughters, the young man who was escorting her, was being a bit of a turd. And I went up to him and I said, "This is not acceptable." And I went to the other people on the board and I said, "You know, we really should do a better job of making sure that these young men understand what their job is and why, you know, this is something that benefits their community. They're going to meet, you know, fathers who, you know, eventually may be hiring them." And so I have now given, I think for the last 10 or 12 years, a talk on manners, and it's white tie and tails. So how do you wear your white tie and tails? Why is this important? Why are manners important, and what manners should you use? Do's and don'ts for being an escort. And I can see that it is a lot different than Cactus Carl, but it's been and the moms just love it. You know, thank you for telling my son this. He knew these things. I think manners are incredibly important. That's honestly one of the things that I'm very thankful for that my folks made a real big deal about.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Shake their hand. It's a firm grip. Look them in the eye. You know,
stand when a woman comes to the table. Stand
Yes.
when a woman leaves the table. Hold the door. All those things are you can call it chivalry. I just call it manners, and I think manners are incredibly important.
and it's not sexist. Oh my Lord in heaven. Can we get over that?
Yes.
You know, it's like you said, it's manners and it's respect. And I think it's so lost. I was overhearing a conversation when I was at a hotel a couple weeks ago in Austin, Texas, and this couple was complaining about their Uber driver. And finally I had to break into their conversation. I'm like, I am so sorry, but I think I had the same Uber driver, because what they were saying was this guy got out of his car, opened up, you know, the trunk, and just stood there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I had the same thing happen to me. I said, he opened up the trunk and he was like 6'4", in shape, young, right? And he just stood there and looked at me until I lifted up my heavy ass suitcase and put it in his trunk, and then he closed the trunk, right? And when we got to the airport, he opened up the trunk and then stood there and looked at it. And I, you know, so then I grabbed my, you know, and he didn't look at me and say like, "Hey, I have a shoulder problem, otherwise I would help you," or "My back is hurting, otherwise I would help you." And they said, "Oh yeah, you know, well, did he look like this?" And I said, "Oh no." And they're like, "Really? There's more than one of those here?" Because we were hoping it was just one guy that was like this. So yeah, it's not sexist. Like I'm not going to be offended that, you know, he helped me, because the other couple, the man was saying like, this guy didn't even help us with all our bags, right? So it wasn't like, you know, men appreciate it too, right? Like, hey, can I help you with at least ask, can I help you with your bag? And yeah, but you know, I'm not taking offense to a man helping me with something and thinking like, oh, well, he helped me because he thinks I'm a weak feminine, you know, what who cares, you know?
No, nobody. I hope people don't care, but you know, maybe there's some, you know, radical feminists that feel that way. But the other thing too is that I was very fortunate in that most of the jobs I had, high school and college, were all jobs where I depended on tips for the majority of how well I got paid.
Right.
And here's a guy who, you know, you go on the Google app, you're going to rate him, you're going to tip him,
Yes,
or not tip him. So that's what always shocks me about things like that is why would you not make the extra effort to pull the bag out or to, have a bottle of water or a phone charger in the car, or
Right.
because let's face it, Uber gets a big chunk of what that fee is, and they don't get a big chunk of what your tips are. So why would you not be doing everything you could?
Right. And that's the beauty actually of Uber over taxi cabs, right? Taxi cabs, I mean, that's a shot in the dark, man.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're getting.
Right.
When we got in taxi cabs, I don't know if you remember like New York City back in the day. I mean, you put your life in your hands. It was like a contest to see if they could drive super fast through the
Right.
city and weave in and out of traffic and stop super fast and almost hit pedestrians and
honk. A lot of honking.
a lot of honking. But they didn't get stars, right? They didn't get reviews. So you had no idea. I mean, they were foreign. They didn't speak your language. You had no idea what you were getting into. At least now you can look at your Uber driver before they show up and say, are they 3 stars or are they 4.9 stars? How many trips have they, completed? All this stuff. And yeah, so I don't get it. I don't understand. We had an Uber driver in Austin a couple weeks ago. And if you get on Google Maps and you put in your destination, you can, at least on my Google Maps, you can see how fast you're going.
Right.
And so I quick put the destination in because I'm like, this guy's going really fast, uber fast. And so I look and he's going 87, weaving in and out of traffic on the freeway. That's excessive.
That is excessive.
Yeah. And so
even for Texas, that's excessive. Yes.
And it takes a lot to make me afraid of something. And I was afraid. And I was with my daughter. And when we got out and she said, "Oh my God, I'm so mad." I'm like, "You're mad?" I'm like, "Aren't you afraid?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, I was afraid too." But she said, "I'm really mad that he drove like that." And she said, "I was going to say something." And I said, "I was too, except he seemed angry." And so he was the one that got angry about the Mexican restaurant thing. And,
Brother.
And so I'm like, I really didn't want to tick him off any further by saying, "Could you please slow down?" Right?
Yeah.
Because we could have been in a world of hurt at that point. But the beauty of it was he got 1 star because you can't give him no stars. I don't think anyway. And then they give you reasons why you gave him only 1 star. And, excessive speed was one of them. So I, did that and he did not get a tip.
No, they need to add "afraid for your life."
Right.
In those things. Because I've had a couple of those.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that is the beauty of that. I also took Waymo, which is the driverless.
I saw your video of that.
Yeah.
That was spooky.
It is. It's so cool though. And here's the thing though. I don't even think they're allowed to get on the freeway, but maybe, I don't know. You'll have to look into that. But it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. So it was weird for sure. It's like living in the future for sure. But
the Jetsons.
Right. Well, and then
Sorry, I'm dating myself there.
Oh no, totally the Jetsons. So on the top of the car, there's this little light thing that spins around, and it has your initials. So when you see the car coming down the road, it has BM for Betsy Martell, so that's your Waymo, right? And then when you get in the Waymo, it says, "Well, hello, Betsy, welcome." And it's kind of weird, but and then they prep you for the first time you get in a Waymo. They prep you and they say, "We cannot hear you, so go ahead and sing to your heart's content." But basically saying like, "Don't talk to us because we can't hear you." Also, and then
you believed that?
Yeah. Well, everybody can hear everything we're saying.
I know.
And then they tell you we've got cameras inside the car, so we see what you're doing. But they do have a button for support, and if you press that, an actual person answers the phone.
Interesting.
I had to use that because when I got in, just like Uber, you put in your destination address, and so my destination address was like 1100 Kingsbury or something like that. And when I got in, she said, "We're going to 1518 State Street," or something. I'm like, "Wait, what?" And she takes off, right? And I'm like, "Yeah, that's
how do we fix that?"
Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, that's not the address." And so I just pressed the support button. He goes, "Okay, let me look it up." And he said, "Oh yeah, it's right on the corner." He said, "It's just dropping you off at the corner of whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, good to know." Because I'm thinking, how do I stop this thing? I'm already in it.
Drag your foot.
I think you can request it to pull over.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I understand they're coming to Dallas, so I will report my experience.
Yes, it is kind of fun. Anyway, we get off track. So why do you think, going back to your idea of what are we calling it?
Talks on Tap.
Talks on Tap. Why couldn't you monetize that? It was a rhetorical question.
No, I guess you could. That wasn't really my impetus for doing it. Was not that. It was more for the creating community for people who I think are starved for it,
Right.
or find it difficult to have opportunities to create that. So that was really my impetus. I don't. I'm sure you could at some point in time.
Because this has a huge, you're doing it because it's going to have a huge value to the people that participate. So if it has a huge value for them, it's okay that you get paid for it. And it's okay that you get paid for your passion. It's okay.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of times, we all get stuck in this, well, I do this because I want to, because it's, it's my passion. I shouldn't, people shouldn't pay me for this because I'm having too much fun or, whatever. But without you, these people wouldn't have it. Right?
True.
And what do they get out of a $5, $6, $12 Starbucks? Nothing.
Bad coffee. Right. Sorry. Starbucks. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Are they a sponsor?
No, I don't know which podcast it was, what episode it was, but I have already said that I don't like their coffee, and I realized, I think I actually say, well, they're never going to be a sponsor. Yeah, I don't care for their coffee either. So, yeah.
I'm more of a tea drinker anyway. You probably didn't know that about me. But.
Oh my God, I can totally see it.
Oh,
Do you put the pinky up?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, are you sure?
I'm positive.
You might you don't even know you're doing it.
I don't like I'm a Irish breakfast tea guy. It's hardcore.
And a mug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mug.
Well, Cactus Carl, of course, he's going to have a mug. I mean, Cactus Carl doesn't put his pinky up.
Stand your spoon up in it. That's the kind of coffee, kind of tea we drink around the campfire.
Okay. You sounded so manly there.
Oh, I don't most of the time. Well, I'll have to. The rest of this interview will be done in my manly voice. Thank you for having me, Betsy. You look marvelous today.
Why, thank you. Oh, Lord. So, okay, so that's, what do you think keeps you back from, besides money? Mm-hmm. Besides money. Remember, money's out of the equation.
Right.
What do you think keeps you from pursuing your passion?
Well, actually, it's interesting you should ask me that question, because I have pretty much decided that in the fourth quarter of this year, I'm going to put on one of these events.
Good.
So I am meeting with a couple of people when I get back to Dallas. I've been talking to a guy who leads a young adults group who he's got a bunch of kids who've gone through this training, and I shouldn't say that. They're young adults. Forgive me. But they're motivated. Now they need to be activated. And I think this would be something that they could get behind. So, one of the things that's actually held me back is I've always been good with ideas, not so hot with execution.
Okay.
And so I have kind of been hoping someone would cross my path that would be kind of a partner in crime.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be a crime. But It would be, someone who is better at execution than I am. And the other thing too is, I worry. You joked about me wanting to help young people. I do worry about being creepy old guy. That is and it's probably a foolish fear.
It is,
based on the relationships I have with young men and women.
And again, that's a societal thing that's been put on you, right?
Right.
And it shouldn't be.
Well, and I don't think that was when we were growing up. There weren't creepy old guys.
Well, at least we didn't talk about it.
We didn't talk about it,
right.
and I don't think I knew any. Did you know any creepy old guys?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. See, so.
Yeah. But and here's the thing. So execution. I always said if coming up with ideas, like fun ideas, was a job, that'd be my job all day long,
millionaire.
Right? Yeah. But execution, I have found over the last couple of years, is believing in it, talking about it ad nauseum, every single person you talk to about it and you talk about it passionately, they'll get on board. You will enroll them into your dream. And it's amazing the stuff people will throw at you. Well, I know a guy, and not all of it you're going to take and not all of it's useful.
Right.
But that starts the ball rolling for the execution. And that was a huge thing for me to realize that when I change my way of being, and I really believe in this, and I really believe it can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you said, oh yeah, this would be really fun, but it'll never happen? You've already talked yourself out of it.
Right. But, and you're right, because I think what has been a recent motivation is this has been on my heart for such a long time that I'm kind of like, okay, there's a reason I can't let this go.
Right.
And this is something that it's more now to me. I think I've realized it's more of a calling than something fun I'd like to do.
Right.
And so in that sense, and also I met this younger guy, and then he's introduced me to a bunch of adults that have sort of backed that community, many of whom I know. And I was, I know this is going to shock you. I was working out the other morning, and one of the guys that's on his backing him said, "Hey, I hear you're interested in blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Wow, thank you." He goes, "Well, we'd like to help in whatever way we can." I was like, wow, this is kind of starting to gain some purchase. And so I'm next time you have me on, I will have done one or two of these, I hope.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
So,
but I mean,
I'm sorry, I've just invited myself back.
Oh, absolutely. I invite everybody back for a second episode. Yeah, no, always. So when people ask you, so say you meet somebody in the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Carl. I'm Joe. Joe says to you, so Carl, what do you do for a living?
Well, I used to say, I help those injured by the carelessness of others. I'm a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer.
Yes.
So I thought that was always pretty good. That made people, you what? That did make people lean in and ask.
But what if you switch the script a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
you said, well, I mean, currently I'm an attorney and have been for years. However, what I'm really pursuing now is this new passion of mine where I'm going to do these tap talks, and this is what tap talks are. And look at the conversation you'll have.
I think that's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, not that being a personal injury plaintiff attorney isn't fascinating, and I could ask you tons of questions and you could tell me fun stories and whatever, but I think that's something that people could relate to more.
It is interesting. I think I think one of the problems though is I talk to people and they say, "Oh, Gen Z, Gen Y, they're lazy. They don't follow through on anything." And I just want to say to them, okay, who's raising Gen Z and Gen Y? Whose fault is it really that they're that way?
Right.
And are they struggling with things that you're not providing the leadership for? You're not providing the outlets for? You can blame it on social media all you want, and I don't think that's helpful.
Right.
But at the same time, I think you better be aware of who raised that person,
right,
and who caused that person to be that particular way. So, that I think there's a little bit of a problem if you say, "Well, I'm just kind of thinking through it now as we're talking. What is my elevator pitch?
Right.
What do I do? Well, I help young adults find community and blossom, or whatever it is. Maybe blossom's not a very good word, but I help young people find community and find confidence, something like that."
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm just kind of
no, and this is what I'm talking about. So as you do this, as you use that as your answer, right, you will find your elevator pitch, right? Because the more you talk about it,
right,
the more you're going to narrow it down. And the more people, here's the thing, when people ask you questions, they help narrow it down for you. They help define what your elevator pitch is going to be.
Thank you. That's true.
Yeah. And
I mean, this is our brief conversation we've had has been helpful in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when you say you're going to do these tap talks, so there's going to be the wine tasting. Yes or no?
maybe. It depends. I mean, I was hoping that I wouldn't be the focus. Maybe one would be about wine, but one might be how to do. Okay, what's it like to do improv comedy, or what's it like to run a political campaign, or what's it like to run a nonprofit, or how do you, like we were talking about earlier, how do you talk to people? How do you engage people in more meaningful conversations? Things like that I think they're, if you think about it, the mind reels with how many topics might be of interest. And of course, just because they're of interest to me doesn't mean they're going to be interest to someone 40 years younger than me.
Right.
So I have to be careful about that. So I do need, I think, sounding boards.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can make anything interesting. I mean, when you were younger, didn't you find the stories from the older people just fascinating and their viewpoints just fascinating, and you can learn so much from them?
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't totally play it down to their age group either. I mean, yes, you have to keep them engaged, but they can learn a lot from you,
And in fact, it's interesting you say that, because the guy that I ran into who said, "Hey, I hear you're interested," and I was like, "Wow, who told you that?" I go to church with him and have known him for a long, long time, and didn't realize his interest in it, and he, of course, hadn't realized mine. And he said, "I will tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, there are young men and women who are really hungry for that kind of someone our age to be involved in their lives, and, let them know it's going to be okay, and let them know that the world's not falling apart." And
that's a huge thing.
yeah.
That is a huge thing, because that's all we hear now,
Mm-hmm.
especially after just going through a pandemic, which we're not going to get on that subject matter.
No,
But, I mean, that was definitely the sky is falling,
right.
bullshit. That, there were a lot of people, young and old, that came out of that with anxiety and fear and, just absolutely terrible disservice to.
And it wasn't, it was, Betsy, was actually before that. Now, my brother is the dean, as a dean at a university, and he told me that 75% of their students at that university suffer from anxiety or depression or both. 75%. I mean, college to me, was so much fun. There was so little responsibility. I mean, I've always said college is the last time you can throw up on someone and they'll forgive you.
Right.
I mean, college is why there's no responsibility, and these kids are wrought with. I keep saying kids, and I'm sorry, they're young adults.
No, I call them kids.
They're
too. That's fine.
wrought with anxiety and depression, and it's tragic to me.
Yeah. Well, and again, you go back to the loneliness, the isolation.
Right.
However, there's also a huge nutritional, physiological component to it also, that, the food that these kids have been eating, the preservatives and everything else that they've been putting into their bodies all these years, are terrible for your gut biome.
Mm-hmm.
And your gut biome has a lot to do with your mental state. And people don't know that connection. So I think if these kids, after all these vaccines and antibiotics and preservatives and everything else that they've been putting in their body, if they really took care of their gut biome and got that in shape, so to speak, and healthy again, that would relieve a lot of depression and anxiety. If, again, community
Right.
is huge for that, and I don't mean online community. I mean, like you said,
Face to face.
That face to face, getting to know people, getting that connection, really just diving into curiosity about that person, and that person feeling like, wow, you really heard me. You really are relating to me.
There's a wonderful podcast called Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, and they're fascinating to watch. He has very interesting health people on there, which I'm sure would be fascinating to you. But he created this deck of cards that was great questions his guests have had. He asked them to please, if there was one question you'd like to ask everybody, what would it be? And it comes in a deck, and I thought, there's part of my deal is, okay, now 5 of you there, 5 of you there, and you're going to have this card, and everybody's going to go around and answer this question. And I mean, you have to be vulnerable to answer the question. You have to be honest. And I don't think there are a lot of opportunities to be that way.
Yeah, no.
We live in like I said, I think there's an epidemic of loneliness. I think there's also an epidemic of unkindness.
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion is kindness always wins.
Yeah.
Ultimately, kindness wins.
And again, you can be unkind on social media because you're hiding behind
Absolutely
the virtual reality, right?
right.
Whereas in person, it's really hard to say that face to face to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what else is important. I mean, okay, going back to college,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, ask Don, but my kids, all right, college now, they barely go to college. They barely actually walk in the doors. It makes me so angry. You have no idea. What are we paying for when these kids are taking most of their classes online?
Mm-hmm.
We're paying exorbitant amounts of money for them to have online classes. They don't, I was talking about even the exercise alone. They don't even have to walk across campus. Do you know what I'm saying?
And bump into anybody?
Like all they do is wake up in the morning, they walk 10 steps, get themselves a coffee, 10 steps over here. Now we sit down and, we're online. It's BS,
Right.
They're not meeting people. They're not, having to. Here's the thing. This is what I love about kids being on teams. You have to learn how to deal with other people when you're
Right.
on a team. Whether you like them or not, you have to be teammates, right? You have a roommate. You have coworkers. You have a partner in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to deal with these people. And, you have to try to understand and compromise and do all these things, right? How do you do that online?
You can't.
You can't.
It's not possible.
No.
And I find that incredibly frustrating. And you're right. I mean, I've you read these stories about the bullying that goes on over social media. Would you ever walk up to someone and say, you should kill yourself?
No.
But it happens all the time on social media. And these poor kids, and it seems like they're getting younger and younger and younger that are getting bullied in this way. And golly, it's, I'm all for, I mean, I'm certainly a bit of a free market, free thought person, but just the cruelty and the unkindness is staggering to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because of the anonymity.
Mm-hmm. It's the anonymity for sure, because they don't have the balls to do that face to face.
They don't.
No. I mean, at least not to that extent.
No.
They might say, I don't really like you, but they're not going to say, go kill yourself. You know, I mean, it's outrageous. And
you can get that's a great thing about, if I'm looking at you and we're talking, I can get a read from you whether you like me or not.
Right.
And you can't get that over the internet.
No.
Over social media. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's staggering to me in and of itself. That's one of the. We're designed to be able to read those things, and our brains process those things. And if you don't have the opportunity to be face to face, that takes that whole chunk away.
Yeah. And by nature, we're pack animals. We are not meant to live in isolation. And so, we're supposed to have community. We're supposed to have all that. So, yeah. All right. Well, we should start wrapping it up.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about male vulnerability.
Oh, we were. Maybe we'll save that for next time. I
Okay.
don't know. Well, no,
That's
let's
fine.
talk about it real quick. Actually, because I like that question. I think I've asked almost every man that's been on the podcast. Their definition, and I have a really hard time saying this, just so I'm going to really do some tongue exercises here. La, 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 la. What is male vulnerability? See, I can't say. I've talked myself into not saying it. What does male vulnerability mean to you?
Vulnerability in general, I think, is probably the most courageous thing you can do. I think being vulnerable with people and letting them know how you feel and that you're not comfortable or that you feel like you're screwing up or you don't get it. I think it takes great courage to say those things to people or to be that honest with people. So I think vulnerability is A, courageous, B, honest, and I think we should all be honest. But male, and I don't really think male vulnerability is any different than any other kind of vulnerability.
No.
Maybe you think I'm wrong, but
No. I was actually going to say that. But it's just that there's a tendency for men to hold back
Right.
and not be vulnerable. In fact, I had a really great discussion with a man, and he said, "I don't know what my girlfriend wants. I just know that she's really frustrated with me, and I think it has to do with me not being vulnerable."
Mm,
And I said, "If you're not being vulnerable, I can guarantee you that's what's
right.
wrong." Because, and he's like, "I don't know what that means." And I said, "I'll tell you what that means, at least for me, but you're going to have to ask your significant other, ask your girlfriend what it means to her so that you know what she needs from you. She doesn't mean that you should be a blubbering, crying, you know, pile of, whatever.
Hmm.
You need to tell her what your emotions are.
Right.
And when she asks you, "Hey, something seems wrong, what's going on?" Don't just say nothing because you think you have to be chivalrous or
I'm fine.
brave or strong or whatever. Because when you say that, she most likely knows that there is something wrong. And
Hmm.
when you say there's not, that means to her that you don't trust her enough to open up to her.
I think that is spot on, and I think it applies to whether it's a intimate relationship, whether it's a parent-child relationship, whether it's a work relationship. I mean, think of how if you're a leader in whatever organization you're in, and you're not vulnerable with your coworkers and your employees, that that effect is you think you're being stoic
Mm-hmm.
and we're just going to push on through. But what that does to everybody else around you, if you're running a team, I mean, that team's going, well, gosh, then I can't be vulnerable. I can't raise my hand and say, I'm struggling. I'm having a problem. I don't get it. So there's that, and so as a leader, you don't really know what's going on with your team. You don't know what's going on with your kids. You don't know what's going on with your significant other. And so you may think that there's short term gain by being this stoic, nothing's going to pierce this armor person. But honestly, I think it's incredibly harmful to your relationships. If people around you don't feel they can, if you're not vulnerable to them or express vulnerability to them, they don't feel they can be vulnerable with you.
Right.
And I just think they're going to be hiding things from you, and that can be, suddenly there's a note on the door. Sorry, I'm leaving,
Right. Right.
or I'm quitting, or I'm whatever,
Right. Right.
or yeah.
Because
So
you don't have that mutual respect, you don't have that trust, you don't have that comfort,
mhm.
right? It sounds crazy, but there's comfort in actually knowing what that person is feeling. When I'm always trying to have to guess what you're feeling or what you know or don't know, it's exhausting, number one,
Right,
right? But I'm always kind of on eggshells. Because I'm like,
absolutely.
well, okay, so when I said that, they kind of made a face, but they didn't really follow up with how they felt about it. And
Mhm.
so now I don't know how they feel about that. So I'm going to make up a story in my head, which can go so many different directions and usually not in a good one, right? Good way. Um, but oh gosh, you were saying something. Oh darn, I forgot. Well, you were talking about leadership, which I thought was interesting the way you said it, which is so true. And we don't think about it. You started with leadership and then you defined all the leadership roles,
No, yeah.
which people don't realize that, when I went to the leadership training, right?
Hmm.
And people are like, well, what do you need to be a leader of? Are you CEO? Are you, no, that's
Hmm.
not, you're a leader in everything.
Absolutely are.
Everybody is a leader at some point in time in their life, right? So, like you said, maybe it's because you're the boss, but maybe it's just that you're a mom or, you're a friend or whatever. But if you're leading the way and you're leading yourself, that's what you need to be in leadership
Mhm.
for.
Well, and look at the flip side is you don't know what's going on with those you're leading if you're not vulnerable. You don't know when they're having problems. But the other thing too is if you express that you're struggling with this or that, well, maybe somebody has the answer that you've been looking for. So it's a double whammy not being vulnerable. There's a so Dallas has a very kind of affluent suburb that called Highland Park, And I remember asking a friend of mine, we were sitting in the bleachers at a high school game. And I said, you know, how's it going? How's it going with you? And he goes, well, do you want the Highland Park answer, which is I'm fine? Or do you want the real answer, which is things are pretty crappy right now, and here's why. And I said, we're close enough friends. I want the real answer. And it was a fascinating conversation, and it brought us both very, very close.
That's the other thing I was going to bring up, is that male vulnerability isn't just about being vulnerable with your girlfriend or your wife or your significant other. It's about just your guy friends, right?
Right.
How many guys just hang out and talk about, sex and sports and, whatever, and that it's very surface. And nobody ever brings in like, hey, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job, or hey, my relationship with my wife is really suffering, or I've got this kid and I don't know what to do with them because they're acting out at school and, whatever. They never do that. But if they did, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but, it's rare,
Right.
But if they actually said like, hey, Joe, let's get together and have coffee, instead of being in a group and watching the game, let's get together for coffee. And if you sat down and looked at Joe and said, how's everything really going? How are things with your family? How's your job? Is there anything you would change in your life? Is there anything, any dreams or anything that you have that you would like to pursue? People don't do that, especially men. It's, oh, let's talk about the stock market. And,
Right.
And when they talk about their career, it's just like, well, what's your next promotion? Or, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not.
What are you struggling with?
Right.
And I think that's a very powerful question. And I think we're all struggling with something.
Right.
Minor, major, we're all struggling with something.
Yeah. And maybe not. And maybe they say, you know what, this is the first time in a long time that I've been really happy in my career. And that's another conversation. It doesn't have to be bad stuff. Let's celebrate it then. How cool is that? And then you get to know what he wants to celebrate,
right.
Which gets you closer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So men, be more vulnerable. That's all I'm saying.
You'll be rewarded for that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So we're going to wrap it up. And next time. So wait, it's July. When are you going to have Tap Talks? When's your first event?
It'll either be in late September or early October.
Okay, you heard it here first, people. If it doesn't occur, then I'm coming after you.
I guess I'll never come back to Wisconsin. Because you will hunt me down.
Am I young enough to come to one, or
Sure.
do I have to like pretend like I'm a younger person?
No, you're incredibly youthful.
Okay, I could like pull my hair back, and this is my trick, by the way. If you want to look younger, like pull your hair back in a really tight ponytail, like ballerinas and gymnasts do, and it like really just like lifts and pulls out the wrinkles.
That has always worked for me.
I know.
It always works for me. And I mean, it takes 10 years off this guy. So
you should try it.
I should.
Grow your, maybe that's why men have longer hair now and they put it up in a man bun.
Well, I can't have a man bun because they've got this horrible bald spot from all the break dancing I did in my youth. So the man bun is not going to happen.
No.
And I like being married to my wife. If I had a man bun.
There's certain well, those are deal breakers, right?
Yeah.
Hey, next time let's talk about deal breakers. I love deal breakers. I think they're the funniest thing in the entire world. But I always say, be careful what you wish for, because I know so many people who've said, like they get divorced and they're dating and they're on, online apps, and so you feel like you can like pick a puppy out of the litter, right? That's kind of what, right?
Yeah,
okay.
right.
I don't want the runt. I want the one that's friendly. I don't want the one that has too much energy. Like, this is how you go into these dating apps, right? And it's so funny. I had this friend, she's just like, well, I don't want him to be my height or shorter. I don't want him to be terribly older than me. I don't want him to live too far away from me. And who did she date? Some guy that lived 6 hours away, I think was maybe as tall as her, if that, okay? And was, I don't know, 7-8 years older than her, right? And I was laughing. I'm like, see, just be careful what you say,
Right, because, I mean, that we used to call that geographically undesirable when I was dating.
Right.
She's geographically undesirable, so.
But they did eventually break up.
Okay.
So she was maybe right.
Yeah.
But, I think it's funny how you have to be careful what you wish for, because when you say, I don't want that, that's exactly what happens.
And it did for her.
Yes, it did. It did. So anyway, well, thank you so much for being on. So wine.populist on Instagram. Then we've got the book Wine Folly by Madeline Paquette.
Paquette.
Paquette. Okay. And that'll be in the show notes. But I do want to say that if any of you were touched by anything we talked about today, or you just felt like you aligned with it, or you have comments, you don't like what we said. No, if you don't like what we said, just keep your comments to yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Or if you want to get behind Talks on Tap.
Right. Talks on Tap.
You've got some brilliant ideas about that.
Yes, Talks on Tap. Well, you don't even have any social media for it yet, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do not.
All right. Well, look for it. I'll get the message out there when it
and
comes.
this is actually I've taken a hiatus from Wine.populist. So this show with you is kicking off me reinstituting Wine.populist.
Oh, good.
So I'll start posting again.
I love it.
And I think the thing that was missing is the social media I've had where I'm talking with someone about wine, much more well received. So
yes, yeah.
Than me just saying, here's the wine I'm drinking.
Right. Unless you were dressed up like Cactus Carl.
Well,
you might want to try.
I was wearing seersucker a lot because I'm trying to become an ambassador for this company that makes seersucker suits.
Oh, what's the name of the company?
Haspel.
How do you spell it?
Haspel.
Okay.
They sort of invented seersucker, and it's a New Orleans company. And so if anybody out there has connections with Haspel, this guy wants to be an ambassador. And I would wear seersucker year round if I could.
I love that. I love it. Okay. Seersucker's making a comeback then. I'm feeling it.
It's not just for summer anymore.
No.
There you go.
It really isn't. Can you have a tweed seersucker? No, you can't do that. No. That's not even possible, is it?
They actually have a black and a navy seersucker.
Oh.
So you can wear it during the winter.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to see some. All right. So Wine Populist, seersucker, Talks on Tap. No. Wait.
Talks on Tap.
Talks on Tap. Okay.
Exactly.
I think I said it wrong before. Okay. Talks on Tap. We got it.
Yes.
All right. So follow, subscribe to me, to Wine Populist, whatever you want to do.
And as we say on Wine Populist, be kind and share wine. I love you guys.
Oh, I love that. I got to come up with a tagline like that. I don't have anything.
Well, we'll
work
on
it. We're going to work on it. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for being on. And,
Betsy, it was an absolute delight to be here with you.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Usually we have these conversations without recording and, still beverages though.
Right. I know. And then we always say we should have recorded that. So now we have. So, all right. So we're going to see you after the talks.
After the first.
Top. So we're going to, somewhere in October, end of October.
So now I've drawn the line in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And I know someone who's not going to let me blow it. So,
yes, I'm excited.
I'm too. Very much so.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for being such a great friend too.
Oh, absolutely. All right, everybody. We'll see you later.
Take care.
See you later.
All righty.
Beep. What is that?